Hello, everyone. Welcome in to the Chrono Jotter on this fine Thursday afternoon. We are here. My allergies feel better today. Things are looking normal. I hope everybody else is having a decent day as well. Oh god, my hair. I need a fucking haircut real bad. But that's neither here nor there. Hope everyone is having a decent Thursday afternoon. Likely going for, at least most Americans, into a 3-day weekend. So, hell yeah for that. Everybody loves a 3-day weekend. And yeah, if you weren't here last time, we have sub badges now. That's a fun thing. Last time, we found out that Asakura had murdered Tama Indo because she was deeply, deeply depressed and toxic and took out her self-loathing on her partner. Fun and exciting times. But yeah. Oh, my coffee is hot. Hello. Okay, I think without too much further ado, let's head on over and just get started. Oh, right, Frogman. Yeah, it's Frogman. Marvel's greatest superhero. Oh, right, and Miho, Takei, and Aya were having a fight about something that we haven't figured out yet. We've swapped roommates with Takei, and, we're currently rooming with Takei. We've swapped out Yoruno and her in order to help deal with their weird domestic spat that's going on. But right now we are investigating a murder because we found that Hinata Koizumi had appeared to have hung herself on the balcony of the dorm room, though there are reasons why we suspect foul play. So let's get into this and hopefully keep an eye out for whatever weird psychotic bullshit Ron drops out of nowhere in this obligatory 2-hour span. So, Ron arrived at the classroom. No one was present but her. She headed right to An's desk and sat down at her seat. Then she lay down on the desk and took a deep inhalation. Nope. Smells nothing like her. Damn. The case this time doesn't seem to be all that complex. It seems like it should be easy to reach the truth. Ron raised her head, supporting it with one arm as she looked towards the blank blackboard. Though it also feels like there's not really any clues. Maybe I should see if there's any recall points on the note. Alright then, let's begin the recall. After showering, a meeting with Yoruno, who was still preparing food. What kind of weird recall point is this? What's the point of it? Let's give it a shot, I guess. After Ron and Aya left the bathroom, they heard the sound of flowing water from the kitchen. The two of them headed over in wordless agreement. Yoruno, are you still preparing food? Sai seemed to have been startled by Ron's sudden words and spun around to answer. People are so quiet when you walk around, I swear. Scared the heck out of me. Just finished washing everything. Now I've got to prepare some of the more labor-intensive stuff. There's 8 mouths to feed now, after all, so it's gonna take a bit more time. Doesn't look half bad. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's lunch already. Koyama, did the thought of giving Yoruno a hand not occur to you at all? Yeah. You two don't need to stand around watching. Get back to your rooms, I can handle it on my own. Alright. Tell me if you need any help. Sai waved her hand and went back to her work. It's so much easier just to kick back and relax with Sai around. Right. so you and Takei should hurry and stop making trouble for her. You're totally just saying that for your own sake. Smiling, Aya headed up the stairs with Ron, and each of them returned to their own rooms. But after Aya shut her door, Ron returned to the hallway again. What am I up to now? Ron quietly tiptoed down the stairs and arrived at the kitchen. This time, Sai noticed her. What is it? Look, I can at least help with watching the vegetables. Let me help. Oh, how helpful, you kid. Sai rummaged around in the drawers underneath the sink for a while until she dug out a pair of plastic gloves. Wear these while you're working so you don't hurt your hands. Thanks. Ron put on the gloves and started washing the vegetables awkwardly. Sai had to give her instructions from time to time. Yurino-san! Ibuki-san! Miho had finished showering and come to the kitchen as well. She was clearly avoiding direct eye contact with Ron and stayed on Sai's side of the kitchen. Need me to help out? Sure. We're out of gloves, though. That's fine. With the three of them working together, they washed off the whole mountain of raw ingredients quickly. After that, they cleaned up the kitchen and had a few more words of conversation before heading up the stairs as a group to return to each of their own rooms. Just then, Asakura left her room and headed down the stairs. Oh hey, three of you all in the same place. What a party. Asakura, where are you going so late at night? No, just going out for a breather. Been kind of awkward with Indo lately, so I decided I'd opt for a bit of avoidance. Oh, really? Yesterday when I saw you two together in your room, it seemed like you two were getting along great. Asakura smiled and waved her hand lazily, passing the three girls and exiting the dormitory building without answering Sai. So Asakura went down the stairs yesterday. I didn't hear her mention it, though. After Asakura left, the three of them went upstairs and returned to their own rooms. It's here? Here I thought the point of this recall point was to allow me to see Koizumi-sensei again. I didn't even run into her going downstairs to shower at all. Not to mention, it's weird that we ran into Asakura. Now I've got even more questions. And recall. Lunchtime turned out the same as yesterday. The atmosphere was a bit glum, and it seemed that Sai's attempts to liven the mood with a lavish lunch hadn't had much success. Sai, you must have worked real hard to prepare this many dishes for us. Please, you really should ask the rest of us to help out when we can. It's fine. This is my job. The food is wonderful, Yurino-san. You're not bad at cooking either, Indo. We're about evenly matched on this front. Well, it looks like the atmosphere did approve just a bit, but... Ron looked towards Asakura's empty seat. Indo, Asakura's missing. Is she not coming down for breakfast? Tama noticeably startled a bit when her name was called, and stuttered for a few moments before answering. I don't know. I sent her a text, but she hasn't replied. Can't believe even you lose track of Asakura once in a blue moon. Forget her. I'll whip her up something personally when she turns up. Tama nodded and continued eating, though her movements had slowed significantly compared to just prior. Miss Sakura, do you want to discuss the case together like we did last time? Sure, that's fine. Hold up. Popping out of nowhere, Sai interrupted the conversation between Ron and An. She even draped an arm over Ron's shoulder as she spoke. Sakura, could you loan me Ibuki for a bit? There's something at the swimming pool I need her help with. What? No. I want to be together with Miss Sakura. Resistance is futile. You're coming with me to help clean up the pool. What? Cleaning up the pool? No! It sounds exhausting. Do it yourself. Alright. I'll be taking her now. An nodded and waved farewell to Ron as she struggled in vain against Sai's abduction. Sai told Ron to stay at the edge of the pool and not to go anywhere while she retrieved a plastic box from the changing room. What's this? You'll know in a moment. Next, Sai got a transparent cup out and scooped up some water with it, before getting a pH test strip out of the box and placing it into the cup. Ron watched as the paper slowly turned deep blue and nodded. Very alkaline. Maybe around 9 or 10 if I had to guess. Yeah, just about. I'd say 9. Anyway, we need to lower it a bit. Most swimming pools have a pH of 7 or 7.5 or so. Oh yeah? How are we gonna do that? Ha! I knew that you'd immediately be interested in this sort of thing. Sai got out a bag of the plastic box and handed it to Ron before pointing at the other end of the pool. This is disinfectant powder. Go sprinkle it into the water in that end, and I'll start from this end. Try to shake it out evenly. And here I thought we were going to drain the water and then go down and manually scrub the pool. Yeah, that'd be way too much effort. No need for it this time. Once we toss in the disinfectant, it'll kill bugs and germs and stuff, and then we can drain the water underground to filter and cycle it. Underground? Filtering? What's all this? There's a machine under the swimming pool that'll filter out contaminants in the water. After that, all I have to do is pour in the pH adjustment solution, and everything will be okay after that. Winter's almost here, and once it freezes over, we won't be able to use the swimming pool. So we'll wait for the ice to melt in the spring before we drain the water down there and scrub the pool. I see. And here I thought that there was no way to scrub the pool without draining all the water. Well, this time our primary goal is to clean the water in the pool, not the pool itself. Anyway, that's enough blabbering. Let's get started. Sai gave Ron a nudge in the butt with one knee to prompt her to get to work. In response, Ron turned and made a silly face at Sai before jogging off to the other end of the pool with the disinfectant. Holding a plastic bucket full of disinfectant in one hand, Ron used the large plastic ladle in her other to sprinkle the powder over the pool. Because Sai had told her that she had to spread it evenly, Ron was forced to take her time so that the disinfectant could spread through each and every drop of water. The last time I had to do something this mindlessly repetitive, I was at the delusory crossroads, I think. Yes! We got our first completely insane thing you just said! What the hell is the delusory crossroads? The delusory crossroads. The delusory crossroads are an anomalous phenomenon situated within the city of Nejaf. Getting lost within local graveyards in the city will cause one to unconsciously enter an altered space. The altered space contains endlessly repeating crossroad intersections, as well as large numbers of regularly positioned coffins. Each coffin has someone's name inscribed upon it, along with their dates of birth and death. By entering and falling asleep within a coffin, one can speak with the person whose name is written on that coffin within their dreams. However, when they awake, they will completely lose their memories of the dream. Those who enter the delusory crossroads by accident must find a coffin without a name and carve their own name, date of birth, and the date they entered the crossroads upon it. Then they must enter and fall asleep within that coffin. If they do this, they will awaken at the last place where they fell asleep. Ron Ibuki once sought out the coffin of a certain person here, details lost due to memory loss, and laid herself within that person's coffin, using the notebook to record their conversations. Afterwards, she scratched the existing name off of a different coffin and scratched her own personal details into that coffin to secure her escape from the delusory crossroads. Yeah, alright. Honestly, that's one of the more sane ones. All things considered, it's completely insane, but it's one of the more sane ones. But here it's just like when I'm showering. I can calm down and contemplate other things, such as... Ron continued her mechanical movements as she passed one of the corners of the pool, such as the situation with Koizumi-sensei and Asakura. It seems now like all the students in the school have some kind of connection to me. They have some kind of place in my life, one way or another. But when I first came here, I didn't have any memory of them. And yet, despite that, I didn't notice any distance. Even though I'd forgotten Koizumi-sensei, I didn't see any inexplicabilities appear in my memories of high school. It's like all my memories were changed from person A and I went to eat a hamburger to I went to eat a hamburger by myself. Despite the clear difference, as a self-consistent snippet of memory, there's no problem at all. Only the involvement of the other party was redacted. So, can I assume that the being tossed me here wanted me to regain my memories of everybody here? Ron continued spreading disinfectant as she looked up towards the sky. From my standpoint, it seems kind of pointless, but I don't need to guess at their goals. I just need to do what I'm supposed to do. Rather, a more interesting theory presents itself to me now. If my redacted memories don't leave me feeling any dissonance, then is it possible that I had a companion while I was going through anomalies like the Red Ruins or the Delusory Crossroads? Even though I'm sure that I was strong enough to do whatever was necessary to find Miss Sakura by myself, it's still possible that perhaps... Ron threw out another spoonful of disinfectant, but this time the powder kicked up a stark black ripples when it made contact with the surface of the water, as though Ron had tossed a spoonful of the night sky into the pool. Huh? Ron bent over and stared intently at that patch of water, waiting for the water to return to normal after the ripples settled. In hesitant disbelief, she tossed out another spoonful of powder. This time, though, the surface of the water displayed nothing out of the ordinary. What's going on? Is there something off about that patch of water? Can't be. I went into this water during a recall before, and nothing weird happened back then. Ron set down the plastic bucket. She took a knee at the pool's edge and reached out towards the surface of the water. Hey, don't move. Sai grabbed onto Ron's wrist and halted her. What do you think you're doing? We just scattered all that disinfectant into the pool. If you reach and touch it now, you'll burn the skin off your hands. Ron nodded and pulled her hand back. Just seeing things? If it burns skin now, how are you going to swim from now on? It'll be fine once the disinfectant's fully dissolved in the water and we've filtered it out and rebalanced the pH. Have you tired yourself out or something? Feel free to leave the rest to me if you want to take a break. No, I just stopped because I thought the color of the water looked a bit off. Alright. Let's keep at it then. Probably just a hallucination. Let's not think too hard about it. I'll cheer myself up by thinking about Miss Sakura instead. Scattering disinfectant over the pool proved to be a much more arduous chore than Ron had imagined. By the time that Sai announced that they could pack it in, Ron felt like her arms had dislocated themselves. Letting her arms dangle loosely from her shoulders, Ron stumbled over to Sai. I'm about to go activate the filter machine. You want to come with? How long's it going to take? Probably going to run all the way till just before dinner. Forget it. I'm out. I'm exhausted. Go ahead, go ahead. As Ron looked forward to spending some time alone with An, she quickly headed back to the dorms. But then, she noticed Tama standing at the door, looking this way and that with a nervous expression. What's going on? Oh, Indo noticed me. As Tama ran towards her, Ron subconsciously placed her hands out, with the palms facing up. To her surprise, Tama really did put her tiny hands into Ron's palms, like a little puppy dog doing the shake hands trick. Cute.
Buki-san, please hurry. Takei-san and Toyama-san are having an argument in the kitchen. Koizumi-san and Asakura-san aren't around, and I don't know what to do.
What about Miss Sakura? She's around, isn't she?
Sakura-san's trying to break it up, but it doesn't look like it's working. Please hurry and help.
What do these two think they're doing, causing trouble for Miss Sakura like that? Ron released Tama's hands and quickly ran into the dorm building. As soon as she entered the kitchen, she heard Miho shouting at the top of her lungs. Can you not be so childish? Aya, on the other hand, sat on a chair with her legs folded, not even sparing a glance towards Miho. Her expression was full of displeasure. An stood between the two of them, helplessly repeating, "Let's not fight. Let's sit down and talk about it properly. Talk it out properly," over and over. Miss Sakura? Ron was more concerned with the bewildered expression on An's face than she was with the spat itself. Ibuki-san! Eh? Miho rushed over and seized Ron's wrists. We're leaving. Eh? What? Miho dragged Ron up the stairs to the second floor, and then into their room. Miho slammed the door shut behind them and fell into one of the chairs. What are you even doing? Nothing. I was just using you as an excuse to get out of there. You came just in time. Ron pulled up a chair next to Miho's chair and sat down. At least this means you're going to finally spill the beans about what you two are fighting about, right? Our reason for fighting would sound quite mundane to an outsider, so I don't want to talk about it. You two are really making a lot of trouble for everyone at this point, though. It's fine. I'll figure out a way to deal with it. This is a problem between you and Toyama. I'm pretty sure that you trying to figure something out by yourself isn't going to be sufficient. Miho wanted to contradict Ron, but found that she had nothing to say. Let's talk about it later. No. Ron leaned over the table, reached out, and grabbed Miho's shoulder. Miss Sakura came out to try to mediate between you two herself, but neither of you paid any attention to her. You've made quite a lot of trouble for Miss Sakura. Miho shrank back just a little, just like she did in the classroom, when the newly arrived Ranabuki had forcefully demanded that she reveal the name of the victim. So I need to do something about your problem quickly so that Miss Sakura can be free of the need to worry about the two of you. Even though Ron said it in a reproaching tone of voice, the words she'd said immediately made Miho seem to relax. Wow, you really are terrible at showing your concern for others. But you and An are both good people, and I don't want to cause any more trouble for the two of you. Ron sat back and shook her head. Any goodness I possess is entirely the result of Miss Sakura's influence on me. Anyway, just give me a little time. Once I've prepared myself, I promise I'll tell you about it. All right. Let me know after dinner, then. I have one time unit. Aya, Yaruno, and An. Indo. What the hell is Indo? Oh, Indo's probably in the library doing her Indo stuff. Concerned about the situation in the dorms, but I also want to visit Indo. Let's stick with the dorms. There's too much going on there. Ron headed downstairs and swerved into the dining room. Tama Indo wasn't around anymore. In her place was Sayuruno. An, look! My romantic rival! Oi, Toyama. Aya feigned intimidation and ducked behind Aunt Sakura. You're fighting this badly, and you still don't want to talk about the reason? Oh, if you're still asking, that means Miho didn't tell you while you were upstairs either, right? And I'm not telling either. Even though she hasn't told me yet, she agreed to talk about it with me afterwards. So if Takei is willing to make up with you, are you willing to cooperate as well? Aya splayed her legs, supporting herself with her arms, pushing down on a nearby chair, and started waving her body around. Well, I can't answer either, since you haven't actually gotten anywhere yet. Anyway, as soon as Mia decides to agree with me, we can immediately make up. That's been my stance since the beginning. Sure, whatever. We'll see what Takei has to say about it when we get there, I guess. You sure are busy, Ibuki. Not only do you have to think your way through the case, you also have to handle all these interpersonal relationships too now. Don't just mock me from the sidelines. You try coming up with a way to fix this too, Yoruno. Sai shrugged. Well, I guess I'll put some thought into what these two troublemakers would like to eat then. Is it just me, or is something seriously wrong with this situation? Even when it was time for dinner, Asakura's seat still remained empty.
Asakura-san, I don't know where she's gone. She still hasn't replied to my texts.
It's been some time since I've seen her as well. And she's been murdered? Huh? But don't we already have Koizumi as the victim? Why would there be more murders after that? Not to mention that I was suspicious that Asakura was the culprit anyway. Well, in theory, the culprit is allowed to kill people other than the designated victim. Like if the culprit was obstructed or just wanted to make the case even more complex. Of course, if they get exposed before they even get to their designated victim, then it's 0 points for them. Right. That time Asakura killed me in the recall, it was because she was afraid that I'd notice an inconsistency. Makoto could still be alive. If she's in a situation like what Ron and Hanada encountered before, that'd be quite unfortunate. We should go look for her. Sakura is right. Let's go looking. Dinner can wait till afterwards. The students paired up and started searching all over the school for Makoto Asakura. Except Miho and Aya, who would normally be inseparable from each other, had split up this time, Miho partnering with Sai, and Aya partnering with Tama. Ran and An, on the other hand, went together to the schoolhouse to search for Asakura. Even though the lights were on in the hallways, it was still quite dark. Ran and An intertwined their fingers and stuck very close together. You afraid of the dark, Ran? Yes. A little bit. Really, it's other things that I'm afraid of. The two of them slowly advanced, calling out Asakura's name as they walked. Soon, they reached the damaged stairwell that Ran had discovered previously. Miss Sakura, do you know exactly when these stairs broke down? The situation is now very different from before, and disregarding the other students, perhaps Miss Sakura, who shares certain peculiarities with me, can tell me something useful. Yeah, it was when we just arrived at the school. We wanted to visit the second floor to see what was up there. Makoto was at the very front when suddenly the stairs just completely collapsed. Because Makoto was really tall, she didn't even trip when she lost her footing. She just sort of stood there in the pit in astonishment. At the time, we all found it hilarious. What? That's it? And the second floor? What was there? I didn't see anything particularly interesting when I visited the second floor. Maybe if Miss Sakura and the rest were able to reach it from some different route, they could have perhaps seen something. We're not really sure. We never tried going up again, mostly because there's no use for the upstairs. School is very old in many places, and there are visible signs of decay. We were worried that the other stairs were suffering from similar issues, so out of safety concerns, we didn't make any other attempts. But the rooms we frequently use are all in good shape. Only the places we never go seem old and dilapidated. Huh. I never noticed. Could it really be that simple? If I'd known, I would have asked Indo directly and saved myself a lot of speculation. We've only shown you around the most commonly used areas, after all. After An finished speaking, the phone in Ron's pocket began to vibrate, echoing slightly in the hallways. She unlocked it and looked at the message from Tama.
Buki-san, we found Asakura-san's corpse near the swimming pool.
Oh! We got a body! Oh, I think it's Yuruno. I bet she used the acid to dissolve her body or something like that, or was going to try to do it. I don't know. This murder reads Yuruno to me. Miho and Aya illuminated Makoto Asakura's corpse with a flashlight, while Tama sat next to her with dull eyes. Sai was in the water, pushing Asakura's corpse towards the edge of the pool, and was about to start lifting her out. At first glance, it looks like she drowned, but there's no froth around her mouth or nose. Did Yuruno wipe it off? Ron only took a single glance at the corpse before quickly walking to Tama's side and kneeling down to place a hand on her shoulder. Indo, are you okay? Tama turned her head, but didn't speak. Ron had to wave her hand in front of her a few times before she suddenly took a deep breath, blinked, and began to speak.
You're here, Ibuki-san. Once we found the corpse in the water, Yuruno-san changed to her swimsuit and went down to get her out. Initially, there was some kind of white foam on Asakura's face for some reason. Yuruno-san helped wipe it off for her.
Indo, you don't need to tell me about all of that yet. I'm asking you, are you okay?
Me? I'm fine.
Thomas stood up and took a few steps back, and Ron followed her to a place slightly further away from the edge of the pool. I was expecting you to have started bawling or something, honestly. Hey, Scoop, welcome in. Quiet day so far. Thomas smiled in embarrassment and nodded.
That's probably what would have happened before, but not anymore. After talking it out with Asakura-san, we've each changed in ways greater than I could have imagined. And the most important thing is that after I saw Asakura-san's corpse, I had a sudden revelation. I wanted to write a letter that conveys my thoughts and feelings to Asakura-san, but I couldn't come up with a thesis that I was satisfied with. Now I found it.
What?
The conclusion I needed to find was about the concept of reliance, the source of meaning in life, as well as the reason why the young mistress taught me my letters in the first place.
Thomas stared directly in front of her as she spoke dryly, as though she was reading what she'd written down in her draft word for word. And after Tama finished speaking, Ron suddenly lost her balance and fell to her left side. She instinctively reached for and grabbed Tama's shoulder as the massive headache brought her to a knee.
Ibuki-san? What's wrong?
Hearing Tama's cries, An, who had been standing by the pool, rushed over as well. She kneeled at Ron's side and softly stroked her back. Ron? Unlock conditions not met. Ah! My head hurts and I need rest. I don't know why my head hurts so much. Ron lowered her hand from Tama's shoulder for fear that Ron would hurt her. It must be that I've almost managed to recover my memories regarding Indo, but... Miss Sakura... An knelt on the ground and held Ron's hand tight. I'm still just slightly short of the mark. If only I understood Indo just a bit better, then maybe I could remember it. My head didn't hurt nearly this much with either Kazumi-sensei or Asakura. So why is it that this time... Ron, I'll bring you back to the dorms to rest. But the corpse... Let Miho and the others handle it. You look terrible right now. An helped Ron stand up, and the two leaned on each other as they headed towards the dorms. Ron laid on the bed, her brain still in total disarray. After An helped tuck Ron in, she sat at the bedside and combed her hand through Ron's hair. Does it still hurt? I can wait with you until you fall asleep if you want. You're still so good to me, Mitsakura. Even if your personality is so different from how it used to be. Oh. Then, between the current me and past me, which one do you like more? I like them both. An had clearly predicted that Ron would say that and continued. My personality has changed. My memories are completely different. Other than looking like the same An you knew. Like you liked. She and I share no similarities. Or are you saying that you only loved An for the way she looked? Of course I love the way you look, Miss Sakura, but not just that. Ron's voice tapered down into a tiny whisper. I liked being together with you. Doing all kinds of things with you together. And I liked the feeling of being taken care of by you, Miss Sakura. An's strokes of Ron's hair slowed down a bit, and she took a long time to respond. Sakura? It's nothing. Sleep tight. An swept her hand down Ron's face, closing Ron's eyes. Good night. Why does that feel so odd? Oh, good, we're back to Creepshow. The sound of rumbling stars approached the room once more, so I immediately took control of Ron's body and sat her upright. I warned you several times not to disturb Ranibuki again. The fact that I don't know exactly how you and the school are connected is the only reason I haven't. My life is like unto a candle's last vestige, flickering in the wind. But Ranibuki can find me a path to survival. Hearing this, I tilted my head and peered at the countless stellar bodies behind it. Their revolutions accelerated and decelerated at uneven intervals. It seemed to imply some kind of disorder. You're about to die? It didn't answer me. From what I could tell, its external appearance and the sound of its stellar revolutions hadn't changed at all. Perhaps it had long ago entered a state where it was merely wanting to die. Was that why the school seemed so dilapidated? Was that related to its impending demise? If Ranibuki remains in this place, my existence will be prolonged. I don't care if you live or die, and I'm sure Ron Ibuki would say the same thing. Don't try to use a reason like that to make Ron stay here. But An was here. If Ron was unable to depart with her, how would she choose?
And if Ron Ibuki chose to dwell here in perpetuity, how would you respond?
It was as though it had guessed what I was thinking. Presented me with a question I was already contemplating. Ron Ibuki ought to do as she wants. On a fundamental level, there is no such thing as any choice for me to make. I placed a hand on her chest and felt her steady heartbeat. I belong to her. It began shifting its massive body as though it were preparing to depart. This was its shortest visit to Ron's room yet. Had it already achieved its goals? I cannot detect any signs from you that your life is nearing its end. Why do you say that you are close to your demise?
If Ron Ibuki departs this place, the answer to the query will be self-evident. If Ron Ibuki remains in this place, the query itself will lose all meaning.
If you don't want to give me a straight answer, then just say that. What's the point of standing here just to say all this mysterious nonsense to me? The sound of revolving stars gradually grew distant, and after the door quietly closed, I sat on the side of the bed and awaited the disappearance of the sounds for good. The worms are here. The worms. After confirming that it wouldn't return, I laid back down in bed and hugged her shoulders. Just what choice will you make, Ron? No matter what, though, I'll always protect you. Good night, Ron Ibuki. Oops. A stinging headache pulled Ron from her dreams. She opened her eyes and quietly moaned. My head hurts so much even after waking up. Good morning, Ibuki-san. Ron saw Miho sitting at the side of her bed, and momentarily startled before realizing. Oh, right. Current roommate is Takei. Ron sat up and took a deep breath, feeling that her headache would soon dissipate. Right. How is Asakura's corpse? We didn't find anything special. No additional external injuries. The cause of death was most likely drowning. You didn't cut the corpse open to check? No. Even if we did, we wouldn't know what to check in the first place. Do you have any ideas? Probably a better idea to focus on the first case. With Asakura-san, there's really not much to... Miho Takei suddenly shut her eyes and pressed her face in closely to Ron's. Ron quickly shrank away in response. The hell? You're sweating this much on a day as cold as this? Hearing that, Ron immediately lifted her arms and gave her own body a thorough sniffing. The last thing she wanted to do was drive on away. Clearly, I don't actually smell at all. Don't scare me like that, Takei. Miho stood up, revealing a rare, playful smile on her face. You didn't have a chance to shower after you got back last night, did you? There's nobody in the bathroom right now. Want to go? Sure. I could use an opportunity to think over recent events properly by myself. Ron didn't make a habit of showering in the morning, but she had plenty of intimate memories of having done so before. Because it definitely meant that she and An had done something exhausting together on the previous night, leaving the two of them too expended to even shower, and forcing them to wait until the next day to wash the fatigue from their bodies. Feels like it's been a long time since I've wondered just what the fundamental nature of this school is, ever since I started integrating myself into school life. Ron leaned against the walls of the bathtub as the hot water lapped up and down over her collarbone. She found that letting it rise to the position was most comfortable for her. This is probably also related to how I've been regaining my memory. My interactions with Koizumi-sensei and Asakura felt completely different than before. There are still a few people whose memories I haven't reclaimed yet. Wonder what their relationships with me have been. Ron intertwined her fingers tightly under the water. She let out a long shout. I hope they're not like Koizumi-sensei where I've done something to them that I can't make amends for. I really couldn't take it if that were the case. Ron flapped her arms under the surface of the water, raising currents that knocked against her body. On the note of integrating into them, Another part of it is that, consciously or not, I've started to enjoy playing this deduction game with them, haven't I? Even though Miss Sakura influenced me to enjoy logic games like these, at the start I was still trying to figure out how to make them stop committing such acts. But then, once Indo's corpse appeared, all those thoughts seemed to have evaporated. My whole brain became completely preoccupied with figuring out how Indo was killed. Ron plunged her face into the bathwater and spoke into bubbles. Burbles. The recalls are being more flexible than usual, too. After all, they're usually not such an effective tool most of the time. Ron lifted her face and brushed her soggy bangs to one side. No matter what, memories have to be an important part of this, whether it's Miss Sakura's memories or the others' memories. Let's solve the case first, and then try to get all of the remaining memories back.
Buki-san?
Indo? What is it?
Sorry for interrupting. Could we wash together?
Why is Indo coming in to wash up now? Sure, no problem. Ron had originally thought that Tama would need some time to change out of her clothes before entering and that she would use this time to prepare herself mentally, but she hadn't expected that Tama would just immediately pull the door open and barge right in, already fully undressed. Now, why does that remind me of Asakura, asking if she can come in while having fully prepared on the assumption that I'd say yes? After Tama entered, the first thing she did was bow lightly towards Ron. That sight made Ron a bit nervous, and she subconsciously shifted her gaze away.
My apologies for the disturbance.
Do you come in for morning showers often, Indo? As Ron spoke, she swam to the edge of the bath, making room for her in advance.
Oh, not usually. After I figured out what to write last night, I pulled an all-nighter at the dorms and finished it all in one go.
Tama smiled awkwardly from under the shower head.
It's convenient, since Asakura-san isn't present for the moment, so I wouldn't impact anyone else by working overnight.
As the fragrant and warm water showered onto Tama's skin, a drop of water slid from her shoulders to her heels. Ron couldn't help but trace the path of that water. Ron couldn't help but trace the path of that drop of water a single time with her eyes.
And then I went right to bed without washing. How about you, Ibuki-san?
Pretty much the same for me. I turned in early because of my headache.
How do you feel now? Is it better?
Yeah, it's much better. Tama smiled with sincerity and nodded. After Tama finished washing the suds off herself and immersed herself in the bath, she turned to face Ron.
Would you like me to scrub your back for you, Ibuki-san?
Even though this was a suggestion that almost couldn't be refused, Ron Ibuki still waved it off. Forget it. I've already finished washing up. So, your letter's done?
Once Asakura-san returns, I'll show it to her. Let's work hard together after this, Ibuki-san, so that we can bring Asakura-san back sooner.
Ron Ibuki rose with a nod and stepped out of the bathtub. Tama's eyes widened as she stared, and Ron was pretty sure she knew where she was looking. Leave it to me. Still haven't managed to regain my memories of Indo. Let's look for the culprit on one hand while trying to get my memories back on the other. After showering, Ron arrived at the dining room in a cheerful mood. Sai had already prepared breakfast, and the rest of her classmates had already taken their seats in and were waiting for the food to be served. Hold on, please. I believe that the executive producer is trying to get in. You have to make an appearance because you interrupted my stream. Here he is. Here is the criminal. He's been a nasty little boy lately. Haven't you? Haven't you? You want to say anything to the people? No? Okay. There he is. Anyway. After showering, Rana arrived at the dining room in a cheerful mood. Sai had already prepared her breakfast, and the rest of her classmates had already taken their seats and were waiting for the food to be served. Ron, does your head still hurt? It's all better thanks to you, Miss Sakura. Ron said so as she took her seat next to An. I didn't do anything, though. It was Miss Sakura who brought me back to the dorms, after all. Yeah, about that. How come you collapsed again? It was downright weird not to have you around to do your pretentious analysis thing after we trawled the corpse out of the pool. While Saya was making fun of Ron, she set down a bowl of dumpling soup in front of Ron. Ooh, the school even has something like this? I used to love this dish when I was a kid. Yeah, there's still plenty. If you want more, let me know. I'll get you another bowl. It's alright, one bowl's enough. Ron picked up the vinegar bottle on the table and added some to the soup, but her hand suddenly shook, and she dumped way too much vinegar into the bowl. The pungent scent of acidic vinegar spread. Wrinkling her brow, she shook her hand and tried to dispel it, but the sour smell suddenly gave her a flash of inspiration. Wait, Asakura's corpse was... Takei, come with me to the morgue in a moment. I want to check Asakura's corpse again. Sure, no problem. I can go anytime. Miss Sakura, would you like to come as well? Sure. Are you really going to be able to drink that, though? Ron lowered her head, seeing the spreading vinegar slowly tinge her bowl of soup a dark shade. Oh, do we have a clip of the executive producer? Excellent. Thank you, Scoop. He's so cooperative, and yet such a little bastard all the time. Ron lowered her head, seeing the spreading vinegar slowly tinge her bowl of soup a dark shade. It's fine. I'm used to being sour, after all. The silence that fell over the dining room gave Ron's spontaneous joke a unanimous score of 0 points. That was dog shit, Ron. Oh, cut here, right? Right. Both the trachea and the esophagus. Wearing a pair of antimicrobial gloves, Miho made a Y-shaped incision into Asakura's chest cavity, following Ron's instructions. She found the part of the trachea that connected to the lungs. Can't quite get a good view at this angle. One moment. Miho used the back of her hand to push them against the muscles around the trachea. She held the trachea with her fingers, while she used the other hand to slowly cut the tube open with a scalpel. Next to her, Ron stuck her head in there and not wanting to miss a single detail of Miho's autopsy. Ron, do you enjoy watching people cut up corpses? Of course not, Miss Sakura. I just think it's a good idea to observe in depth when an opportunity like this presents itself. I've encountered corpses before this, but the more knowledge one has on this sort of thing, the better, right? An nodded, seemingly accepting Ron's statement. Ibuki-san, look, the incision is complete. Miho let out a breath and almost let herself wipe the sweat off her brow with her hand. Thanks for the hard work. Ron sucked up some of the lingering fluid in the windpipe with a pipette and transferred it to a pH test paper. Let's wait a moment for that to resolve. Takei, next up, try making an incision in the esophagus. You don't need to cut the whole thing. An incision somewhere around the neck will be fine. I'll give it a try. Miho took a deep breath and then buried herself in the dissection of Asakura's body once again. Ron, why are you testing the pH value? Because yesterday when I went to disinfect the pool with Yuruno, we adjusted the pH of the pool. By testing the pH of the water that flowed into Asakura's windpipe as she drowned, we can figure out exactly when she drowned. I see. But there must be plenty of blood mixed up in it as well. Is testing it still possible? I think so. The pH value of blood is pretty close to the pool's post-adjustment value, whereas before adjustment the pool's pH was 9. That's quite significant. Yeah, welcome in for the autopsy. We've got 2 dead bodies now. Asakura drowned in the pool as well. The pH test strip turned slowly a deep green, making the answer self-evident. Wow, it really did change color. Here I was wondering if the redness of the blood might interfere with the color-changing properties of the test paper. Well, we mostly pipetted up some water just now, and if you really have to test the pH of blood, you can. It's just that in that case, you'd want to use a glass rod to pick up a very small amount of it. Alright, the esophagus incision's done too, Ibuki-san. Ron repeated the same procedure. The pH of the fluid from the esophagus was the same as the sample that she'd taken from the trachea. We can be doubly certain of it now. Asakura definitely drowned before Yuruno and I went to disinfect the pool. Then the body must have been hidden somewhere before it was thrown in the pool. There's still a lot of strange things about Asakura's case, though. Firstly, why did the culprit kill her? Did Asakura discover a key clue? Or was Koizumi's death a distraction, and Asakura was the actual target all along? What do you think, Miss Sakura? An looked at the two colored pH test strips before opening her mouth. The culprit know that disinfecting the pool would change its pH value? It's not obvious why they bothered to move the corpse out of the water before tossing the corpse right back in after. Yeah. Are we overthinking this? Takei, do you have any thoughts? Why is that so loud? Miho was standing blankly next to the sink washing her hands. The sound of flowing water had been going on for quite some time. Takei! Ibuki-san? Miho gave a small start as she came back to her senses and shut the faucet. Anything the matter? Do I need to make another incision? No. What's up with you spacing out like that? Big sound effects down. No. What's up with you spacing out like that? Miho wiped her hands dry and took her place beside the two again. Oh, I know. Thinking about the situation with Toyama? He's back. He really wants to get behind my blinds. This is the shit I have to deal with. He has notes about the lighting, but he's wrong. Sorry about that. Miho's retort had yet to leave her lips before she closed her mouth and nodded. But there's no point in thinking about it. The problem can't be solved. Okay. Nope, you're done. Can't have him doing that in the back constantly. So he has been banished. Looks like I'm gonna have to put the case on hold for a bit again. That's because neither of you two have actually tried to solve the problem, have you? Well, Miss Sakura and I are both here. You ought to take the opportunity to have a proper chat with us about it. Miho nodded and turned to cover Asakura's exposed chest cavity with a cloth before continuing. Telling you two about it is probably the most effective thing I can do, since the problem that I and I are having probably exists between you two as well. Snooze the ads. Ridiculous. I would never get into a fight with Miss Sakura. How impressive of you. Even if I don't have my memories of previous interactions with Ron, I'll still try my best to help. Buki-san, in your relationship with An before, were you the one who confessed to her? Wait, hold on a second. Oh, because I have monitor capture because of how this game capture kind of functions, that is to say, poorly, which means that it occasionally sees what is beneath the game. in case what is beneath the game this time is Frogman. So. The reason you were arguing with Aya had something to do with your romantic relationship? Oh my god, Ron, you're so stupid. That's right. That's why I said it was the kind of issue that outsiders would consider negligible. That's how most relationship issues are. For people involved, it's the biggest deal ever. But I'm sure an observer would call the whole thing ridiculous and pointless. Would others consider my feelings for Miss Sakura to be strange as well? I would never get into a fight with Miss Sakura. Yeah, because that would imply that you have a sense of self-worth that isn't fully dependent on her approval. Fucking right, Myth? God damn. You have your own toxic bullshit, Ron. Would others consider my feelings for Miss Sakura to be strange as well? Yes! But I couldn't possibly fully express the love I hold for Miss Sakura without being so fervent. Sure then. I was the one who confessed at the time. And you decided that the opportunity to confess had arrived because you felt like the relationship between you two had developed to an acceptable point, right? Wouldn't really call it an opportunity. A confession is a way of making a promise to both sides of a relationship, once both sides' feelings have been built to an appropriate level. Directly confessing to someone that you think you like is nothing more than just gambling on your luck, right? As for me at the time, someone said something to me that inspired the courage in me I needed to confess to Miss Sakura. Just who said that thing and what did they say? I've forgotten even something that's significant to me. Yeah, they're just having this relationship talk over a corpse that she's like Y-incisioned and pulled the fluid out of the trachea of. Cool. Totally normal setting. So, someone else encouraged you to confess to An? Sure, I guess. But at the time, I was already deeply in love with Miss Sakura. It was just that I was too afraid to imagine what it'd be like in an actual relationship with Miss Sakura, so I kept putting it off. Was I really scary before? Of course not. It was just that I felt that I couldn't live up to you, Miss Sakura. Aunt Sakura looked like she was trying to imagine what kind of herself she must have been. She shook her head and turned to Miho. And then, what was the cause of your argument with Aya? When we graduated from middle school, Aya confessed to me, saying that she wanted to be in a relationship with me. I turned her down. At that moment, Ron felt like the only way she could express her shock adequately was if her eyes popped right out of her sockets. The hell? So you're not actually dating right now? Of course not. Well, you can probably guess why I'm so surprised right now. So why did you turn her down? I do have a good relationship with her. I've known her since elementary, and our relationship is very close. We've held hands before, and even kissed each other. Aya seems to think that we're basically already dating, but I don't agree. Okay. The more you talk, the more you're losing me. If this doesn't count as dating, what does? Is it normal to you to make out with any random person off the street? Of course not. I do those things with Aya because I really do like her. But, just like you said, before both sides confess to each other and make promises to each other, it doesn't count as proper dating. And I don't think the time is right. So we can't be together. Ron was getting quite tired of this question-answer format. She clung onto An's arm and played idly with one of An's fingers as though she were trying to while away the time. So what does don't think the time is right? Aya has joined a rock and roll band. I think it's rock and roll, at least. I'm not too sure. I don't know a lot about the other members, but she looks like she's serious about it and that she really wants to continue on down this path. Miho showed a rare smile of vulnerability. It reminded Ron of herself. She had a special set of expressions like that too, reserved exclusively for discussing An, not to appear in any other circumstance. Yeah, it's again. I want to support her dream. Give her everything I can to help her. The road Aya wants to take is a very hard one, so I have to be behind her to support her all the way.
I know for a fact that I will spend the rest of my life's journey by her side. But we're both women. I have to support her musical journey, which means that I have to become capable of supporting a home for the both of us.
An nodded silently. It seemed she agreed with Miho's thoughts.
Oh, but not a burden to me. Or rather, the fact that I only need to shoulder such a tiny burden as this to be with the person I love is enough to make me deeply grateful already.
Kay is definitely going to grow up to become someone incredible. With her competence, surely she and Toyama will be able to live a wonderful life together. But, I still don't get why you have to reject her right now.
I kind of understand, Ron. If we were in the same situation as Miho, I'd probably choose rejection as well.
What? Impossible! Miss Sakura couldn't possibly reject me! Okay, hurry up and tell me why you're rejecting Toyama.
I figured that An would share my opinion. Well, he would agree with Aya's. If I accepted her confession, then we'd already be a couple, even without me needing to do anything. Without even having started to work hard to make our shared future or her dreams come true. I'm afraid that this would weaken me and make me incapable of sustaining our lifestyle.
It's just a high school romance, isn't it? Not so bad as all that, right? What, are you worried it'll impact your grades? Ron thought she was being fairly ridiculous, but Miho's expression was serious.
I do, in fact, think it's very important. I have to focus all of my efforts in order to be able to achieve a societal position that can guarantee that Aya and I can live in the way that we want to live, despite being in a same-sex relationship. For this, I'm even willing to temporarily sever our relationship, until I have the power to back up the promises I want to make to her. Be together with her again.
Then what the hell is your relationship right now? You're getting on pretty well, aren't you? So you can't date, but you can be best friends with each other? What kind of logic is that? Ron squeezed An's hand, hoping to win support from her lover.
I can understand, Mia. Relationship between two people is a long journey to embark on. Sometimes sacrificing time spent together in the present to win a longer future together is the right thing to do. We can't let ourselves be attracted only to the beautiful things right in front of us. But I want us to be together right now. So deeply in love that I couldn't bear to spend a second apart from you.
You sound exactly like Aya. Ron spoke her next words rather unhappily.
Well, then that just means how much Toyama loves you too. You love her as well, so just be together already.
You know what? No, I'm definitely going to speak up for Toyama's sake. I'm going back and telling her your thoughts.
It's no good. I'll never accept it.
That's exactly what I want. For her not to accept it. And then for you to apologize to her and make up with her. Miss Sakura, please take Takei back to the dormitory. Once I'm done chatting with Toyama, I'll bring her right back.
But what if you bring her to me and we start fighting again?
It's fine. Both me and Miss Sakura will be there. After speaking, Ron let go of An's arms, draping her hands over An's shoulders. Also, don't worry, Miss Sakura. When I confessed to you in the past, you accepted instantly. But there's absolutely nothing that could come between us. An Sakura nodded her head witlessly. It looked like she wanted to say once again that she and the person that Ron remembered weren't the same person. Sure, I'll accept your confession then. But she would try to get closer to being that person. Alright, gonna run the 3-minute ad break. For those of you who are subscribers, you can hang out and we can chat. For those of you who aren't, we'll be back in 3 minutes. See you soon. If the ads start. There we go. Advertisements in progress. What do you guys think of Frogman? I agree with Morrissey that they're really missing an opportunity on the MCU with this. Yeah, I'm sure he is. He's being a real fuck right now. I wonder if I need to go back and spend time with Indo in the library to unlock my memories of who Indo is. That's my current suspicion, anyway. Yeah, I don't know exactly how some of the flags on this one work. And I don't know if it's going to prompt me to do that at some point. Or if I need to do it of my own accord. I'm just kind of running through this first one and seeing where it takes me. Yeah, there is. I can apparently recall at will, I believe. I can go to any of the points where it says you've established a recall point, which is usually any time I need to make a decision. I do want to do something sillier for the next one, I think. And I do think I'm continuing to lean towards Great God Grove. I feel like that might be goofy enough. Take a pivot from all the murder and pining and weird toxic relationships and shit. Just do some cornball shit. Oh yeah, no, like, I enjoy these a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm having a great time with the Chrono Jotter, but I want to shake up the tone a little bit after this one. And it's almost finished. Myth, for the most part, we don't know either. Like, there isn't a lot. We kind of just showed up here very in medias res, like, buried under the floorboards, and then just kind of hit the ground fucking running. I have no fucking idea what this school is about. Or why we're here, or how we're here. So, you're really not missing a ton of context. You know most of what you need to know. Alright, looks like the ads are done. So let's get on back to the music room. Oh yeah, you'll learn a whole lot about weird worms if you watch the VODs. And more weird bullshit, Ron said, because she dropped like 8 insane things at the beginning. Just back to back to back to back to back. Whoop. Ron hurriedly pushed open the music room's door. Aya was strumming some chords with a guitar pick, but when she saw Ron rush in, she held the guitar strings down with her hand and the sound soon faded away. What's with the rush? Toyama, Takei told me. Ron was just about to tell Aya what Miho had said so that she and Aya could work together against Miho. Suddenly, she remembered, though, that Miho had said that Ron's reaction had been very similar to Aya's. Takei must have already spoken her mind to Toyama. Can't believe I didn't realize something so simple. In fact, that's probably the foundation on which they had the argument at all in the first place. Ron was for some time unable to say anything, and just stood there blankly with an awkward expression on her face. Aya, on the other hand, laughed as she shifted a bit and patted the empty spot next to her. I've written a new song recently, Ron-chan. Why don't you give it a listen? Sure. Ron sat down next to her and noticed that she was holding a wooden guitar. Actually, I got the inspiration from this song after I met you, so how's that? Eh? Why? Is there something about me that inspires creativity? Aya shrugged. I don't know. That's why they call it inspiration, I guess. Aya set down the guitar pick and plucked the strings with her bare hand as her other fingered the chords. A soothing melody flowed out from Aya's fingertips. Ron whispered quiet praise for Aya's skillful hands. but alongside it came the familiar sensation of dizziness. This song. It's Toyama. I've heard it before. It's... No! More unlock conditions not met. But this is a new recall point. So what Yeah, I can jump to, like, any of these at any point. So, we'll do that at some point later. But, right now, can't deal with it. Just a little more. I've regained my memories of Toyama. This time my head hurts even more than when I regained Indo's memories. But we didn't regain Indo's memories. Is there some connection here? Ron grabbed tightly onto the edge of her chair and lowered her head, hoping that Aya wouldn't notice. Let's leave it at that for now. Come to talk about the affair with Miho, right, Rancha? Right. What are your plans, Toyama? Take's told you how she feels, hasn't she? Aya blinked a bit and set her guitar down on her. Miho told you? Yeah, she told me and Miss Sakura. Aya grimaced and stretched luxuriously, swinging her legs around a bit and tapping the tips of her toes together. She's told both you and Ann that be ready to put this state of affairs to the end. I'll listen to her. If she says we oughtn't date, then won't date. Huh? What? I feel like she's talking absolute nonsense. What the hell does she mean she can't date you? Dating doesn't change a damn thing. Oh, I know. But Miho can be charmingly innocent sometimes. She's really credulous about certain things. And needs a sense of rituality and formality in her life. But I have to support her. If that's the kind of environment she needs to do what she wants to do, then I'll listen to her. Aya displayed a degree of maturity that was at odds with the impression she usually gave. But that way you're not going to be able to date Take anymore. Well, there's nothing to do about that, right? It's only been a few days, and I'm already going insane not being able to talk to her. Can you imagine if we kept this argument on end for years? Aya stood up and tucked her guitar away into its bag. Let's go. I'll make up with Miho. Oh, okay. But, Toyama, don't you feel like you're conceding too much to her? It's like you know clearly this isn't the way to do things ought to be, but you're just accepting that you've lost to Decay anyways. Oh, Ron, that's not it at all. Aya Toyama smiled gently. The relationship that Miho and I have isn't one that's concerned with calculating gains and losses between ourselves. Ron was lost for words for a moment and didn't know how to respond. She nodded and decided that what Aya had said was completely correct. It wasn't like she would ever want to track the gains and losses between An and herself either. They both belonged wholly and completely to each other, after all. After Aya returned to the dorms, as soon as Aya saw Miho, she bounced over and take a hold of her hands and said a few words to her. Ron and An stood some distance away from them, so as not to disturb them. So it looks like they made up with each other? I think so. I don't really feel anything. I just sort of listened to them talk about it and the situation resolved itself. Really? I feel like you were quite helpful. Terrible at this kind of interpersonal stuff. Oop. This time it was just that they never even wanted to break up in the first place. Besides, compared to me, you're far more skilled at resolving these situations, Miss Sakura. You could resolve the whole world's problems. That's how I feel. Miss Sakura you're talking about still a member of the human species like me? Ron laughed. Oh, you've got such a sense of humor, Miss Sakura. But since their situation's been resolved, next up it's time to analyze the case. That's definitely something I'm half decent with. Do you have any ideas? Let's go to the observation deck. I want to do a bit of a recall, and having you with me, Miss Sakura, will make me feel a bit more secure. I understand. Let's go then. Excuse me. Ron took out her notebook and flipped through it, searching for a blank page. She reached out and... An stared at the flipping pages, seemingly enthralled. She reached out and stopped Ron's page flipping. What is it, Miss Sakura? An's fingers slid up and down the notebook's page, and it took her a long time before she answered. Excuse me. The texture feels so marvelous. It feels like I want to just keep on caressing it forever. You've gotten a bit addicted to touching it too, haven't you, Miss Sakura? I felt the same way the first time I touched the notebook. Ron thought for a moment, and ultimately decided not to divulge the fact that she thought that the notebook pages felt like An Sakura's skin. Well, I'll stop distracting you. Let's start the recall. Okay. After this, if you want to do any more caressing, Miss Sakura, feel free at any time. Ron flipped to an empty page, pressed her hand to it, and let her blood seep out through her fingers. Doesn't it hurt, Ron? It's fine. It doesn't leave any wound. The blood comes right out through osmosis, bypassing the skin and blood vessels. How incredible. An placed her hand on the notebook as well. Ron's blood touched the tip of her fingers, but was soon sucked back into the notebook. I don't know how the notebook works either. It's very mysterious. Eventually, the blood was all absorbed, and Ron pulled her hands back. Then she looked at An with a piteous expression. Miss Sakura, under the state of recall, I will fall unconscious, and my body will enter a state of helplessness. So can I use your thigh as a pillow for that duration? An nodded, shuffling until her back was against the wall. Then she opened her arms. Go ahead. Ron grinned, laid herself down on An's thighs, and then hugged An's waist happily. Miss Sakura smells so good and her thighs so soft. Ron pulled her legs in and hugged An tightly, even pressing her face to An's stomach. Miss Sakura's waist is just like before, slender but ample. It's so comfortable to hug. Miss Sakura, touch me. An laid her hand on Ron's head and caressed her over and over. Yeah, fucking spritz her. What's the matter? I thought you were going to recall, weren't you? Seemed to be entirely preoccupied with fondling me. Ron closed her eyes and threw her consciousness into the torrent of the recall. Alright, let's begin the recall. After showering, a meeting with Yuruno, who was still preparing food. After finding Koizumi's corpse, a visit to the tool room with Asakura. Well, let's start at the top. What kind of weird recall point is this? What's the point of it? Let's give it a shot, I guess. Wait, we've already done this one. This is the one where we saw that, oh, damn it. I'm currently in the midst of a recall. There we go. No, it wouldn't let me. That's what, when I tried to open the book, that's what came up with the I am in the middle of a recall. Right, so that's the special recall we did that found out that Asakura left. Okay. This is the new one. Originally wanted to find Asakura and borrow the tool room key just to see if there were any clues. Would have thought that she'd straight up kick the bucket after that. Let's try it before she croaks. Ron went to the morgue and told Asakura what she was thinking. Asakura nodded and agreed, and the two of them headed to the dorms together. So, Ibuki, what do you think about this case? Is it a homicide or suicide? I'm not sure. But if Koizumi didn't ask to borrow your key, then the chances of it being a homicide are higher. Otherwise, wouldn't it be weird to have to steal your key from you just to commit a suicide? I would recommend that you try not to guess at the feelings of a suicidal person. Well, if nothing else, Asakura is an appropriate person to hear that from. So, are you still suicidal then? You were pretty pissed last time Indo brought you back from the dead, weren't you? Dunno. At least for now, I still want to live. Asakura reached out and turned the handle, opening the dormitory's front door. But who knows? Maybe I'll decide to give suicide a shot again later. Try not to save me if such time comes. If it weren't for the pH test, I'd probably be wondering whether Asakura drowned herself intentionally right now. After the two of them entered the dorms, they saw the scene of Koizumi's suicide before them. Even though the corpse had already been carried away, there were still all kinds of traces left on the floor. An waved at the two of them. Ran, Makoto, were there any other clues on the corpse? Nothing. Koizumi's only wounds were those on her neck. We're getting ready to grab the key to the tool room so that we can check it. After Ran finished speaking, she followed Asakura up the stairs. They happened to run into Sai going down the stairs on the way. You two came back this quickly? I guess that makes sense. I only took a look at the corpse on the way as well, and it doesn't look like there were any more clues left on it. That's right. So we came to check the tool room. The rope might have been taken from there. Sai nodded and stepped aside, and the two of them quickly climbed upstairs and entered Asakura and Tama's shared room. Asakura pulled open the drawer and took out the key. For some reason, she didn't immediately turn and head to the tool shed, but rather stayed in the same place and held the key for a bit. What is it? Nothing. Let's go. Holding the key in her hand, Asakura left the room with Ran and headed to the tool room. Unfortunately, after the two of them unlocked the tool storage room, they found nothing worth mentioning. All they were able to do was confirm that the rope used to hang Koizumi was the same kind as the rope in the storage room. Interesting. I've acquired an unexpected clue. Alright, let's end the recall here. Okay. Ran pulled free from the recall and immediately grabbed onto An's waist, mewling in discomfort. Ran, what's wrong? Nothing. This always happens after a recall. Ran shivered all over and curled up into a ball, pulling An's jacket tightly against her body. An was unsure what to do. She didn't even know if she could touch Ran or not at a time like this. Rana, do you want me to give you a kiss? All An could think of was the action that Ran had repeatedly requested of her before. Really? Yes, Miss Sakura. Ran didn't even have the energy left in her to be excited. All she could do was express her request as loudly as she could. An bent down, picked up Ran's face by the chin, and kissed her on the cheek. Ah, it's the cheek. Just the cheek. But getting a kiss from Miss Sakura really did fix everything. Ran wistfully sat up straight before immediately taking An's hand. Just like before, then. Let's start with the questions before we start reasoning. But this time there's two cases. Do we want to handle them separately? No need. What we need is to combine the clues from both cases. Only like that will we be able to find the culprit. After all, we need to recount both of the murders to revive all of the dead anyways. Let's begin then. Why were Koizumi's hands so clean? It's a bit of a strange question. Yes, but it's quite important. Koizumi's cause of death is clear because she only had strangulation marks on her neck without any external injuries. If she killed herself, she'd surely have subconsciously used her hands to clasp the rope, resulting in rope detritus being left behind under her fingernails. No matter how strong one's determination is to commit suicide, no one can defy instinct. Every person who chooses suicide by hanging always leaves behind a corpse whose fingernails are distinctly marked. Not to mention, it's rather unlikely that Koizumi had the resolve to kill herself in the first place. Let's see. Even if we assume it was a homicide, that doesn't explain why her fingers are so clean. There must be another clue in there. Yes. Given that the killer used the rope to strangle Koizumi then, so long as Koizumi was lucid, she surely would have grabbed either at the rope or the culprit's hands. But not only is there nothing of significance left behind under Koizumi's fingernails, I haven't even seen any of our classmates with scratch marks either. We should think about this one for a while. Perhaps it'll point us right to the culprit. Who stole the keys to the tool storage room? That's a pointless question, since it might as well be the same as asking who the culprit is. Of course, we need to figure out who the culprit is, but not from the starting point of the key. That's right, we have too few clues about the key. Let's scratch this one off. Was Koizumi the killer's target? Even though 2 victims appeared this time, we can't simply conclude that the second victim was the true target of the killer. Right. The killer could have killed Asakura to prevent her from finding some key clue. Then, whether or not Koizumi was the killer's target could help us decide the killer's future actions. If Koizumi was the primary target, then we'll have to prioritize Asakura's case. Since, if the killer was forced to kill Asakura, there's a great possibility that she may have left a flaw there. We can try thinking on this some more, yeah. Why did Asakura go to the pool? No matter how you look at it, Asakura doesn't look like the type to go swimming. And the pH value of the fluid in her body confirms for us that she did in fact drown in the pool, rather than being drowned elsewhere and moved there. Yep. Questions about the location of the crime scene are always important. Note this one down. This is it then. Let's begin the reasoning. No, I want to read the bad ones too. There's not much point to this question. After the culprit acquired the rope, she would have hidden it somewhere on the first floor, ready for her to use. There's a lot of places to hide a rope on the first floor, and anybody could have had a chance to hide it. No need to consider this question further. But why move Asakura's corpse? It looks strange at first, but because we tested the pH value of the questions easily resolved. That's right, the killer wanted to obscure the time of death by moving the corpse. After all, between the death and the body discovery, there were 2 whole meals where everyone was present. And if we decided to go search for Asakura as soon as we found she was missing at lunch, we'd have figured out her true time of death instantly. Right, so the killer wanted to obscure the time of death by moving Asakura's corpse then. I think the killer is Yuruno. And I've thought that since the beginning of this one. Alright, the questions. Let's begin the deduction. Feels like the clues are all over the place this time. No idea what the results of our reasoning will be. That's okay. No matter what results we come up with, we'll gain something from it. If we don't like the answer, we can go back to looking for more clues. Sure, let's begin then. First off, why were Koizumi's hands so clean? I think we have no reason to assume that she was wearing gloves. I think it was because she was strung up after she fainted. So you're saying that there's the possibility that the culprit first caused Koizumi to lose her consciousness before hanging her to death? The possibility exists, but no matter what, Koizumi must have been strangled by that rope while she was awake. Since the back of her neck has a significant abrasive marks as well, clearly indicating that the rope was bound very tightly to her neck, constantly abrading it at some point, not merely just tied to the neck. So because she has no other injuries, if she fainted, it must have been due to being choked out. Sakura, has an incident of poisoning ever occurred at the school? Any incident of pharmaceutical tranquilization counts as well. Never. There aren't any drugs in the nurse's office with lethal potential either. Ao once hurt herself in an accident. Before Miho patched her up, she looked all over the place for some painkillers or tranquilizers, but met with no success. That bad? To the point of needing tranquilizers? Yeah. Miho had to give Aya some stitches. But later on after that, Aya was killed and revived, which got rid of the stitches and the scar entirely. So even scarring is repaired. I see. But this also proves that beside that, Koizumi having been strangled, no other methods for inducing unconsciousness without causing detectable injuries exist. The killer could only have used the rope while she was awake. So yeah, she was wearing gloves, I guess. During recall, I helped Yuruno wash some vegetables after I finished showering, and she gave me a pair of gloves to do so with. If Koizumi were wearing those gloves, their thickness would have been enough to guarantee that she left no traces on her fingers while she was struggling. Indeed, after Koizumi put on those gloves, even if she struggled, the only signs would have been left on the surface of the gloves, which could be restored to new with a simple wash. More importantly, in the normal timeline, Asakura went down the stairs without ever encountering Koizumi at the time. It could very well be that she noticed the gloves that Yuruno used, washing the vegetables, and combined that with the fact that Koizumi's hands were unblemished to deduce who the culprit was. And she might even have noticed something about the key to the tool storage room that led to the culprit to murder her. So going back to Koizumi, She might have put on some gloves because she wanted to help Yuruno prepare food ingredients for the day. And then the culprit decided to attack her at some point in time after this. Was Koizumi the target of the culprit? I'm gonna say the culprit is yet to kill the true target. That's more interesting if that's true, so I wanna... That one we can't really start to guess about if it were the case. And it doesn't really have much bearing on the current deduction anyways. Yeah, okay. If that was the case, the culprit would have had no reason to kill Koizumi. Dorms are... Oh, she drew her own name and killed Koizumi randomly. She didn't have a target. The dorms are relatively enclosed in a small space. In such an environment, committing a meaningless murder would only raise the number of clues. Well, this kind of thing happens a lot in detective novels, doesn't it? Even in a closed environment, the killer keeps murdering, one after the other. Do you enjoy reading detective novels, Miss Sakura? Not particularly. I've read a few after I arrived here, mostly for educational purposes. You used to love reading them. In fact, you were the one who influenced me to start reading detective novels myself. Speaking of which, has there ever been a pleasure killer in the school before? The kind that's not goal-oriented and just wants to kill everyone for the fun of it. Not at the moment, and I doubt in the future either. After all, this is just part of the curriculum. There's no reason anybody would want to do something like that. Well, irrationality is part of the pleasure of a serial murderer's modus operandi, but I agree that it's not likely that someone in the school could show up, and someone like that could show up in the school either. In conclusion, Asakura being the killer's target seems implausible. Right. Koizumi only told you about taking a shower just before she went to take it, Sakura. The rest of them couldn't have possibly known that Koizumi would go to shower by herself. So the culprit must have planned to kill the last straggler in the dorms, and chose Koizumi by luck. Which is to say that if Hinata had taken her shower together with someone, then the culprit might have settled on killing Makoto, or perhaps Sai instead. That's right. But we both understand now, don't we, Miss Sakura? Yes. And finally, why would Asakura go to the pool? Well, if that's the question, after reasoning the two previous questions out, the answer seems pretty self-evident, doesn't it? There's still some issues. Asakura should have known who the culprit was by the time she went to meet the culprit at the pool, or perhaps the culprit actively invited Asakura to. If it was the former, then it's quite strange that Asakura could have simply pointed the culprit out in front of us, after all. And if she wasn't certain by that point, it'd still have been too dangerous of her to simply meet the suspect alone. If it was the latter, I don't know why Asakura would have agreed to the culprit's invitation. With all the clues she had, was she still not able to deduce the identity of the culprit? I understand what you're thinking. The answers to the previous two questions point to the culprit's identity to her, but Makoto's death is just too strange. But if we can recite the murder process correctly, that plus the clues of the other two cases is probably enough to pin down the culprit. Whether that's enough to revive Asakura, though. I'll just try to explain the case with the assumption that Asakura actively chose to meet the culprit at the pool. Based on the timeline, this possibility seems more likely. If I'm wrong, then I'll just start over from the top. You'll accompany me for it, won't you, Miss Sakura? Yes, of course. Let's go confront Yuruno. Ron stood up and stretched. Let's head downstairs and confront her then, Miss Sakura. An nodded, and the two of them left the observation deck. As Ron walked, she thought about turning to say something to An. Ooh. This I want to use temporary points for. There seems to be some kind of sound? Ron suddenly stopped, turning towards the door that led to the residential area of the dormitory. What is it? I think I heard some sort of noise coming from Toyama's room. She's always making some sound or another in there, isn't she? No, it sounded like someone ran in. I'm gonna go check it out. Ron quickly walked to Aya's door and turned the handle to push open the door. But she immediately felt that there was someone on the other side of the door pushing hard against it and refusing to let her open it. What's going on, Toyama? Ron! Miss Sakura, give me a hand and help me push the door open. Spurred by Ron's words, An ran to the door. As the two of them pushed together, the crevice between the door and frame trembled, and the door opened bit by bit. The lock on the door began to clank and jangle. The person inside the room was trying to set the lock. Not good. They're about to lock the door. Let me handle it. An's voice was calm as she shoved her fingers right into the crevice of the door. An ran to Ron. An ran to Ron. God damn. Miss Sakura, that's very dangerous! Ron was worried that An's fingers would get crushed and tried to pull her hand out, but suddenly the door room opened easily. She and An almost fell to the floor, but managed to stay standing by holding onto the doorframe. Yep. Ron looked up and saw Aya lying on the ground with a knife-wielding Sai straddling her. Can't believe I've been caught red-handed. You sure are devious, Sakura. An nodded, revealing a smile. I knew you'd let go of the door so that my fingers wouldn't get crushed. Hey, excuse me. What, you were worried about hurting An but not stabbing me to death? Aya got up and lightly punched Sai a few times. She didn't look mad, but she was sweating. She'd probably received quite the scare just now. Seriously? Scared me half to death, Miss Sakura. Sai reached out and helped Ron up and gave her a pat on the shoulder. Alright, I guess you probably figured out that I'm the culprit. If you still haven't figured it out, then I gotta say it's a real bummer if you caught me out of sheer dumb luck. Relax. With your half-baked skills, I've long since figured it out. Come on, let's go downstairs and I'll explain how you did it. They're so fucking casual about this. It's really weird. Oh man, that scared the crap out of me. So that's what it feels like to get pinned down by someone. Sai, who'd been caught in the act, made no attempt to plead her own innocence. She and the others came to the dining room together, waiting for Ron to explain her reasoning. Eh? Why are your eyes so puffy and red, Miho? Did you cry because you were sad I got hurt? You're so annoying. Come here. It's okay, don't cry. Aya tried to hug Miho, but Miho pushed Aya away by the face, preventing her from coming any closer to Miho. You know, I'd already known that you didn't take this whole murdering business seriously at all, but you've seriously taken the carefree apathy one step above and beyond, Toyama. Hey, I'm just in a good mood, okay? Try not to take it too far, or Takei's gonna get into an argument with you again later. Sai carried over a pot of tea and set it down at the dinner table and started pouring tea for everyone. Oh look, and you've even made tea, too. Someone sure is relaxed. Well, your process of explaining the murder is already pretty fun. Even comes with drawings to look at. So let's just treat it as a story and enjoy it while sipping tea together, yeah? There's two of us who won't be able to hear the story, though. Can't be helped. After all, the two of them are acting along. Sure is being rambunctious this afternoon. Whatever. Let's get started then. This case wasn't that complicated, so we can finish retelling it pretty quickly. Sai pushed a cup of tea towards Ron. I'm very sorry about boring you, then. Sai didn't sound like she was making a joke. Ron wasn't sure how to respond. Eh? What's that mean? Nothing. You go on. Okay, then. Time to begin retelling the case. So firstly, on the night before we found the corpse, Asakura and Indo entered the bathroom first. Yuruno used this time to enter Asakura and Indo's room and acquire the key to the tool storage room. Afterwards, Yuruno headed to the tool room and got the rope. She hid the rope in the kitchen and put the key back in Asakura and Indo's room. Then she prepared foodstuffs in the kitchen, awaiting an opportunity. During the process of washing the groceries, Asakura and Indo finished showering and appeared. After that was me and Toyama. We spoke a few words with Yuruno before leaving the kitchen. Then, Asakura went downstairs by herself, passing by the kitchen. Wait a sec. How did you know that Asakura went downstairs? Did she ever bring it up to you? Indeed, Asakura intentionally concealed this fact. She'd already noticed some clues back then. If it wasn't for the recall, I would have missed it. I happened to run into her yesterday when I left the dorms to go find Miss Sakura. Right, Indo? When I asked Asakura, she said that she wanted to go out for a walk.
That's right. Asakura-san said the same thing to me as well.
When you saw Asakura, you didn't go for her directly, since you still hadn't seen Koizumi and Miss Sakura going downstairs to shower. Just in case, you decided to keep observing for a while. After Asakura returned to her room, Miss Sakura went downstairs to shower. Koizumi arrived at the very end. And we already know that the one to die that night was Koizumi. Also, she was wearing a sleeping gown, which shows that you must have called to Koizumi after she finished washing up. Ah! You asked her to help you wash the groceries, and suggested that she put on some gloves. Koizumi, of course, agreed.
So that's what happened. No wonder Hinata's hands were so clean. I was very concerned about that fact, but I couldn't find any clues.
You were more concerned about me at the time.
Please stop talking.
Okay, stop interrupting, you two. After putting on the gloves, Yurino got out the rope which she'd hidden in the kitchen. Yurino used the rope to strangle Koizumi unconscious, and also tied a knot around Koizumi's neck. Then, she placed Koizumi under the railings, tossed the long end of the rope to the second floor, and then went upstairs to pull the rope up until Koizumi was strung up to an appropriate height. I love her drawings. After that, Yurino tied the rope to the railing, cut off the excess length, placed a chair from the dining room on the floor there, and took off Koizumi's gloves, disguising it as a suicide. You know, that night Saya was breathing heavily after she returned to the room. You have no idea how hard it is to carry an unconscious body. But why did you want Koizumi to put on gloves anyway? Bit weird. Well, it's as you said. I didn't want any signs of struggle to remain on her hands. I figured that somebody who committed suicide would struggle. And also, I really did want her help with the food prep. Like, I was worried she'd prick her fingers on the fish spines while prepping the fish. Okay, sure. I really have overestimated how seriously they take these things. They really don't go out of their way to use low-risk methodologies at all, do they?
Oh, you're saying that Koizumi-san was selected randomly? She wasn't the true target?
That's right. In fact, I don't think Asakura was the target either. Then that means... Well, obviously, that means I was the target, right? Well, it wasn't you either. Actually, I drew myself, and I was thinking that, well, I had the chance, I should try to kill as many people as possible. You... Why? Let's talk about this after you finish explaining the case. I won't interrupt you any further. Very well. Then next up, let me explain Asakura's case. It was previously mentioned that she went downstairs overnight. It was possible that she noticed that Yurino was wearing gloves while washing the vegetables, and combined that with the cleanliness of Koizumi's fingers to notice an issue. Then, she noticed something wrong about the placement of the key in her room. Or perhaps she didn't, and just relied on the fact that there was rope in the tool storage room, as well as the issue with the gloves, to immediately conclude that Yurino was the culprit. Just killing for fun. Here I go killing again. Afterwards, she went to the pool to confront Yurino. Asakura directly declared that Yurino had killed Koizumi. Yurino, of course, tried to object. But Asakura was in control of several pieces of evidence. To prevent the truth from being exposed, Yurino decided to kill her and drowned her in the pool. Afterwards, she carried the body out and hid it somewhere, then called me to clean the pool, letting me create an alibi for her so that the time of the murder would be concealed when we discovered Asakura's corpse. But I used pH test paper to test fluids left in Asakura's trachea and esophagus, and found that their pH values were as high as 9, far above the standard for a normal person, and identical to the pH value of the pool before it was adjusted. Clearly, she was killed before Yurino and I disinfected the pool. Acidity testing, huh? Here I figured the pH testing wouldn't work on fluids from within a human body. Huh? Yurino actually didn't push back on my theories this time. I was sure she'd say something along the lines of Asakura not having a reason to go to the pool. That she could have simply revealed the results of her deduction to the others directly. And in fact, I'm mostly force-fitting this whole Asakura and Yoruno face-off at the pool scenario. If I were forced to explain what the hell exactly they said during their face-off, I couldn't give an answer either. It's a bit odd. Then, finally, let's sum it up. Because of the previous deductions, you were the one who killed Koizumi. Nobody else had any reason to kill Asakura. Because Koizumi was a randomly chosen victim, you had no accomplices either. So you were the one person who could have killed Asakura. And there's even less to say about Toyama. We caught you red-handed there. Yeah, that all sounds about right. I'm curious, though. Even if you'd gotten away with it, how are you planning on escaping from Toyama's room? Hey, you're pretty smart, aren't you? Why don't you come up with a perfect escape route for me? That's... whatever, it's not important. So everything I've set up to now has been correct, right? Yep, it has. So Asakura and Koizumi should be reviving in the morgue right now. But there's still some questions I don't understand. Well, feel free to ask. When Asakura went to meet you at the pool, what did she say to you? Sai nodded, slowly turning her teacup with her right hand. She sat face to face with Ron Ibuki. For some reason, Ron felt like she'd had countless experiences before where she'd faced off against Sai Yoruno just like this. But Yoruno's memories? Ron didn't feel anything like a headache, or anything that might herald an oncoming headache. I know you like reasoning. You talk about how perverse and wrong our actions are, but you find satisfaction and pleasure in the act of thinking, and you greatly enjoy the process of deduction. What are you trying to say? So, since you like it, I thought I'd try to do something you find fun. Sadly, my criminal powers weren't enough to live up to your expectations. Originally, I was trying to set up a closed-circle serial killer case, and one of those and then there were none setups, but it looks like I'm just not up to the task of stimulating you. And Asakura was the same. She'd noticed that you enjoyed this kind of thing, so she showed up at the pool to belittle me. She said that my methodology was childish, and that she'd seen through me instantly. Yeah, she just wanted to make it fun for Ron. She wanted to make it a fun case for Ron to solve. Sai paused, and then eyed Tama before continuing. Then she told me to kill her. Said that maybe I'd let Ibuki have some fun. Let me have a bit of fun. Why? Ron leaned forward, smashing into the edge of the table, and nearly toppling her cup of tea. Why? What's the meaning of something like that? And this way, it's like Asakura has killed herself for a second time. It's because she was grateful to you. You helped her relationship with Indo return to normal, and helped change her state of mind for the better.
That's right, Ibuki-san. I share the same feelings that Asakura-san does.
Tama stood up and reached out to hold Ron's hand, trying to reassure her.
Please don't blame yourself for Asakura-san's actions. She just wanted to do something nice for you.
But it's useless. I couldn't be of any use to Asakura. She's already killed herself back at Shibuya Crossing. She's already dead. She won't come back to life.
Look, I was the one who actually did the deed, so it doesn't count as suicide, okay? Don't overthink this. Ron closed her eyes and covered her face with her hands.
I know, but stop thinking about these things. Since there's no way to change what happened with Asakura and Koizumi-sensei, there's no point in me being miserable about it. So I should just stop thinking about it. Okay, I understand.
In conclusion, you're correct again this round. Look forward to the next round. Once it's Indo's turn, I'm sure she'll have something incredibly spectacular in store for you.
Oh, Yoruno-san, if you say it like that, you'll put so much pressure to perform on me.
Ron felt like there was something stuck in her throat. She turned and cast a plaintive look at An.
What is it, Ron? Sakura, my only desire is for you to regain your part here with me. I am not, in any sense, enjoying this. I don't think there's anything wrong if you are. Doing what you want to do and working on finding my memories aren't mutually incompatible.
Ron knew that was what Sai was saying about her wasn't wrong. She was clearly enjoying the death games, and through them was even growing closer with An Sakura. Perhaps there really was nothing wrong with this. Yet these girls are not okay.
If even Miss Sakura says it's okay, then perhaps I really should just keep walking down the path I'm on right now. Right, so those who are killed will revive, so even if I enjoy it, there's nothing wrong with that, right? The sound of revolving stars flashed through my awareness. If Ranabuki chose to remain here, then I... Therefore... Sakura fixed her eyes on Ron, and I suddenly started worrying that her face would spontaneously morph into that pallid head-like spherical organ. I will live the way I want to as well. Makoto Asakura sat down and closed Notes from Underground, leaned back in her chair, and let out a long exhalation. I'm quite looking forward to seeing the letter that Indo has apparently written for me. Her pointer finger tapped lightly against the book's cover, and Ron watched, waiting for the other girl to elaborate. My previous issues perhaps stemmed from lack of self-confidence, both in myself and in the environment around me. Just doing the things I was supposed to be doing, wrapping them up cleanly, checking them off, and then continuing on to the next thing I'm supposed to do without any faith in these actions would bring me any great understanding, and not thinking for a moment about how I should connect myself to the greater world around me. And then Indo invaded my life all of a sudden. Her endless curiosity and fervent love stifled me, caused me to sink into confusion. Asakura pulled her hand back to support her chin with a smile. And at the same time, she attracted my full attention. Without knowing it, my entire checklist had become things related to Indo, including, of course, killing her. Okay, you're saying all of this in a really romantic tone of voice, but you have to know how terrifying that sounds, right? Well, it's not the same anymore. She's discovered temperance. I'm learning to trust her. I also agree that Indo was being a bit too intimate with you before. The way things are now is pretty nice. Asakura laughed joyfully, shoulders lightly shaking, and then leaned her head, giving Ron a meaningful gaze that made her ears go red. Actually, she's being even more intimate and passionate with me than ever before. She likes the way I am now better than ever. Please don't make me picture weird things in my head. Let's talk about something else, quick. Asakura put a hand on Ron's shoulder. Well, I understand why Yoruno likes teasing you so much now. You're a lot of fun to play with. The temperance I speak of refers to the way that she will no longer in the future seek to coddle me in every way possible. Before, Indo's incessant caregiving made me think that she didn't have any respect for me. Like, if she didn't do it for me, I couldn't even button a shirt, brush my own teeth, or wipe my own mouth properly. That's all in the past, though. No need to linger on it. Asakura's hand slipped down from Ron's shoulders, following her arm until it clasped with Ron's own hand. I feel great right now, Ron. Thank you. You and Indo have long since been ready to take these steps forward. I didn't really do all that much. And in the future, please don't pull this actively inviting somebody else to kill you to make a case for me to solve nonsense ever again. You being alive is more important than... Asakura nodded, and then let go of Ron's hand. I know you're not very accustomed to accepting the affection of others, so I'll limit myself within your boundaries. So that'll be it for now. Indo's about to bring me that letter of hers, I believe. Ron stood up and stretched. Sure. Just try not to make a mess of the library, okay? Asakura waved her hand without answering Ron. But that's a transition point, I think. And just about time for me to start rapping anyway. So, I think I'm going to save it up here. Got out just a tiny, tiny bit early. But I wanted to thank you all again for coming, as usual. Very much appreciate everybody who comes to hang out. And hope that you all had a good time listening to this continued psychotic story. And we'll get back to this same next week. Same times as usual. And see if we can keep churning through it. But up until then, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday if you are celebrating in the United States in a 3-day weekend, or... Yeah, same myth. I have no fucking idea how this is going to wrap up. This seems completely insane. But
yeah, I hope everybody has a lovely 3-day weekend if you have one, and if not, just a lovely normal weekend. So, have a good rest of your afternoon, everybody, and I will see you all next week. Bye. Hey, if you stuck around to the end of the video, I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed. If you want to help support me in making more of this, you can follow me on Twitch, where I stream these live. Like, comment, and subscribe. I suspect you all know how this works by now, but it really does help a lot. Thanks.